Hi, I'm Rev Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. Today I'd like to talk about the gift we have received from the current situation in the world. We're in the midst of what's being called the new normal. What is that exactly? We have to wear a mask everywhere we go to protect our breathing. We have to stay at least 6 feet away from each other in order to avoid being contaminated. A large number of our businesses are being closed, and those businesses that are allowed to operate are being limited to the number of customers they can actually serve. So, by day we have protests in the street, but at night those protests end up with police confrontations that are violent and chaotic. Unemployment is at an all-time high. In places where we used to be able to go for solace, the churches have been closed for weeks. And now they're only beginning to open, but they're opening with heavy restrictions. And finally, our government leaders are spreading confusion because they each seem to have a different story. Basically, the world is falling apart around us. There seems to be no haven for safety that we can go to. Let's say this. All this madness that we're witnessing is only the view when you are just seeing it from down here on the ground, when you're in the middle of it all, and that's all you see. But what we have to realize is that this is not the only perspective that's available to us. There's another way of looking at all this. Another way. Let's view it from a higher perspective. As I look at all that is happening around us, I'm reminded of a couple of things. First of all, I'm reminded of what happens in an aquarium when you take a hose and you point it at the bottom of the tank and you turn on the water. And as the water rushes in, it stirs up everything in the bottom of the tank. All the stuff that had been lying there undisturbed. The pebbles are tossed about in turbulence. The residue of dirt and old food and dead vegetation rises up in dark clouds, obscuring everything. It's a pretty horrific sight. But eventually, as the new water continues to replace the old stagnant water, the tank finally begins to clear up and settle down. Then we're presented with a fresh, new perspective. So this chaos we're going through is going to eventually clear up, and something new is going to emerge. Something new is going to come out of it. The second thing I'm reminded of is one of the hundreds of stories from the Mullah Nasruddin. Nasruddin was a 13th century Sufi teacher, storyteller, and trickster who often used humor to make spiritual points. I shared this story a couple of weeks ago in a Sunday talk at church, but I think it's appropriate here as well. Now, Nasruddin had decided to retire, and he decided the best thing to do was to move out of the region where he currently lived and move someplace far away, because he figured as long as he lived within the region where he worked, that people would never leave him alone. As long as they knew where he was, they would keep coming to him. So he moved away. He found a nice little hilltop that was covered in thorns, actually, because he thought that was a nice little touch. It would help to keep people away, because he wanted peace. And he figured nobody would grow anything on it since it was so heavily laden with thorns. So he built a little house and he moved in. Well, lo and behold, eventually someone figured out that he was there, and the people in the town below began to come to him for advice with questions. And at one point they came running up and screaming, "Nasruddin, Nasruddin, you've got to help us." He said, "What's wrong?" He says, "All the roosters have died." "All the roosters have died?" "Yes, all the roosters have died. And now we have no way to generate new chicks and keep up our livelihood of selling chickens and eggs, etc. All the roosters have died." Can you help us? What is it? What is it? What's going on? And he thought about it a while, and he said, it's God's will. God's will? That's not an answer. They got disgusted and left. But then a short time later, they came running back up. And they said, Nasruddin, Nasruddin, all the fires have gone out. All the fires in our village have gone out, and there are no live coals around that we can restart fires. The nearest village is so far away that we can't make it there in a day to get more live coals. They didn't have matches back then. What's the problem? What's happening? His answer was, it's God's will. We knew you'd say that. And they turned and they left again. Shortly thereafter, they came running up again, and they said, Nasruddin, Nasruddin, all the dogs have died. No, we have no one, no assistance in keeping away the thieves or in warning us when the thieves were coming. He said, so you have a lot of thieves around here? And they said, no, actually, we've never had a thief. But the point is, all our dogs have died. It's God's will. We knew you'd say that. Ah. The Nazarene sat and he thought about that a while. He said, the dogs have died, the fires have gone out, and the roosters have died. Something is going on, something at a higher level. And so he stayed awake that night, thinking about it, and then he began to hear strange noises. And so he stealthily snuck out of his house, looked around, and on the next hillside, he saw that there was a gathering of men, and as he got closer, he found that these men were all heavily armed and very rough-looking men. And a few minutes later, on horseback, their leader came and said to them, well, men, we've had a good run. We've been able to pillage and loot and plunder all these villages, and we were hoping to have another one here tonight. But there's something going on here. Our luck has run out. Listen, there are no dogs barking. Look, there's no fires, no smoke from fires in any of the houses. He says, and it's near dawn, and there are no roosters crowing. It's obvious that this village is abandoned. There's nothing here for us. I guess we might as well leave. And they did. They all left. They left the village behind unmolested. So what's the point of the story? The point of the story is, no matter how bad things look, there is always a gift. There is always a gift in every situation, no matter how negative it looks. And so I'm looking at the current situation in which we find ourselves. There are so many things happening at the same time. There must be something on a higher order going on. I know that there are theories and speculation that there are people who are in control who are trying to change the economic system or trying to destabilize the society or get rid of Trump or this or that. Any or all of which may be true. But this is worldwide, and something on a higher order is happening. No matter what men may believe they're doing, something on a higher order is happening. And so I say that when all is said is done, there's going to be something of value for us. There is always a gift. There is always a gift. We already have something of value, actually. One of the things of value that comes with this situation is that we are being forced to spend time with ourselves. We're being forced to connect with ourselves, with our inner selves. Before all this happened, we were too busy to pay attention to what was going on inside of us. We were too busy to listen to our conscience. We were too busy to listen to our hearts. We were too busy to pay attention to our humanity. We had too much to do. We had too many places to be. We had too much stress to deal with. Now we still have stress, but it's a different kind of stress. Now we're stressing out over being caged up. It's called cabin fever. It's your ego screaming at you, you've got to do something. You've got to do something. You've got to do something. Well, I'll tell you, here's something you can do. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. That is a gift, at least the beginning of a gift. Taking the time to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and allow your mind to get quiet for a change. Most of us don't realize this, but when we're stressing, the thinking functions of our brain turn off. That's right. When you're under stress, your body is in the fight or flight mode. It's in its own survival. So you don't have time to think. The brain turns off. You don't have the resources to digest your food properly. That energy is diverted to the needs of survival, like running and fighting. You know what happens to your body when you stay in that mode of operation every day? It burns out. It starts to burn out. Your veins clog up with cholesterol. Your heart wears down and starts malfunctioning. Your pancreas stops regulating sugar. And your brain begins to lose its capacity, its ability to solve problems or come up with new ideas. So what's happening now is that you have been given the gift of stopping and resetting and reevaluating. One of the things to reevaluate is the misconception that you have to do it all by yourself. You don't have to do it all by yourself. Believe it or not, you are not alone. You were never alone. You will never be alone. There is a higher power at work. There is always a higher power at work, and that higher power is at work in your life as long as you allow it, to the extent that you allow it. There is always a higher power. It is called infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence is always there. Infinite intelligence is everywhere. Some people call it God. I say that there is nothing that is not God, because infinite intelligence permeates all things. If you've heard anything at all about quantum physics, then you know that there is no separation between anything or anyone. We are all one. We are all made up from the one source of energy that is the basis of all things. That our minds are part of the same consciousness that creates all things. That is the truth. Our minds are part of the same consciousness that creates all things. Our minds are part of that. That same consciousness, that same great infinite intelligence consciousness that causes your heart to beat over 100,000 times a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That same consciousness that causes your lungs to inhale and exhale over 900 times a day, every single day of your life. That same consciousness that showed Michelangelo how to sculpt his Davis. That same consciousness that guided the hand of Leonardo da Vinci when he painted the Mona Lisa. The same consciousness that carried the mind of Einstein across space and brought him back to write E equals MC squared. That same consciousness that guided Harriet Tubman safely through hostile territory, even while being hunted by those who wanted her dead, to lead slaves to freedom over and over and over again. The same consciousness that fed the words into the mind, heart, and tongue of Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, "I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land." If we can learn to relax and get quiet, we can have access to the power of that infinite intelligence that is always there. If we can learn to relax and get quiet, we can access the awesome healing power of infinite intelligence. That same infinite intelligence that has cured so many people of deadly diseases once they learn how to connect with it. That same infinite intelligence that has turned around the financial lives of hundreds of people who were on the verge of poverty or even deep in poverty and showed them the way to prosperity. That same infinite intelligence that will touch our lives here in the midst of this darkness and bring us out into the light. Our only job is to open ourselves up to the peace and power and love of infinite intelligence and to allow it to work in our lives. How do we do it? It's simple, but it ain't easy. That's why I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you learn how to do that. I'm here to help you. Infinite intelligence lives inside of us as us. So the first step is to begin acknowledging the truth of that. That's the first step. Understanding, acknowledging, integrating the truth into our consciousness. So first, let us start off by getting into a space of quiet peace for a few minutes. Quiet peace. So I'm going to ask you to start breathing slowly and deeply. Just breathing slowly and deeply, allowing yourself to relax. Allowing yourself to relax. Allowing your body to relax. As you breathe slowly and deeply, relax. Relax. If you ever had a massage, you know the feeling of having a massage and feeling your muscles letting go, the tension in your muscles, letting go the tension in your body, releasing and allowing you to relax. You come home from a long day at work and sit down in your favorite chair and allow your body to relax, feeling your muscles uncoil in relaxation. That's what we're going for now, as we breathe slowly and deeply, slowly and deeply, slowly and deeply. And so as we continue to breathe slowly and deeply, I want you to repeat after me. I am an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. I am an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. I am an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. I know that infinite intelligence is expressing in me as me. I know that infinite intelligence is expressing in me as me. I know that infinite intelligence is expressing in me as me. Let's repeat that again. I am an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. I am an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. I am an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. I know that infinite intelligence is expressing in me as me. I know that infinite intelligence is expressing in me as me. As we continue to breathe slowly and deeply, let us state in gratitude for all that infinite intelligence does for us, for it keeps us alive. It feeds us. It provides us with so much. It provides us with wonderful coincidences that keep us going, that elevate our lives, even though we may not realize it. But if we give it some thought, if we think about it, we know. We know that infinite intelligence is going to work in our lives and will continue to work in our lives. And for that, we express gratitude. And so please repeat after me. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing me into this life. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing me into this life. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing me into this life. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing me into this space of awareness. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing me into this space of awareness. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing me into this space of awareness, so that I can feel your presence within me, so that I can feel your presence within me, so that I can feel your presence within me, so that I can feel your presence in my life, so that I can feel your presence in my life, so that I can feel your presence in my life. And as I feel your presence in my life every day, and as I feel your presence in my life every day, and as I feel your presence in my life every day, I know that our connection will grow stronger, and my life will grow happier, healthier, and more prosperous. I know that our connection will grow stronger, and my life will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. I know that as our connection will grow stronger, I know that our connection will grow stronger, and my life will grow happier, healthier, and more prosperous. And for this, I am truly grateful. And for this, I am truly grateful. And for this, I am truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Take a deep breath and release it. Take a deep breath and release it. Thank you. We'll get back together tomorrow. I ask you to click on the thumbs up button beneath the video to let us know that we're doing what you want to hear. We invite your comments. We're always wanting to hear what you have to say. And we ask you also if you would subscribe. If you subscribe, then we'll be able to notify you whenever we come on. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We look forward to having you with us again as we move forward in building our minds. For it is our minds that we will grow stronger. It is in our minds that our power will begin to express itself. That is why this program is named On the Wings of Your Mind. On the wings of your mind, we will arise. Thank you. And so it is.